The hangar smelled of oil and steel, a scent that clung to every corner of Nexus Base. It was a place built for power, for war machines worth billions, but she moved through it like a ghost. Her name was Zephyrin Calder, though here no one bothered to ask. To them, she was the cleaner. A shadow in a gray uniform, hunched over a broom. Every morning was the same. Sweep, mop, wipe, repeat. The hangar stretched out like an endless metal ocean, its polished concrete reflecting the glow of industrial lights. Above her, experimental aircraft loomed like sleeping predators, their sleek surfaces gleaming under the harsh illumination. No one looked her way. "Move it, cleaning lady," barked Lieutenant Docell Wade, striding past with his entourage of junior officers. They didn't lower their voices. They laughed, their arrogance bouncing off the steel walls. "I swear they hire civilians just to get in our way," one muttered. Zephyrin kept her head down, her broom gliding steadily. Her shoulders sagged in perfect submission. Every movement screamed insignificance. That was the point. She tucked a strand of dull brown hair behind her ear, the lifeless color hiding what once had been a rich auburn. Everything about her appearance had been designed to be forgettable. Her stooped posture, her quiet demeanor, every detail had been crafted to make her invisible. "Did you see her jump yesterday when that alarm went off?" another voice whispered, loud enough for her to hear. Like a scared cat. Probably never heard anything louder than a vacuum cleaner before coming here. Laughter again. She didn't flinch. She just swept, eyes down, her face an unreadable mask. Inside, though, she remembered that alarm, not just the sound, but the memory it had triggered. Explosions. Screams. The scent of burning metal. They would never know. At the far end of the hangar, Captain Soren Novak stood addressing a group of pilots. His commanding voice echoed across the cavernous space, snippets of his words drifting to her ears. New targeting systems, recalibration protocols, unacceptable anomalies. Zephyrin's sweeping slowed ever so slightly. Targeting systems? The XT-85 was supposed to be a transport craft, not a weapons platform. She filed the information away, never pausing in her work. "You. Custodial." Novak's voice suddenly cut through the air like a whip. "Spill. Clean it up." All eyes turned to her. She shuffled forward, head down, as if embarrassed by the attention. The spill was nothing more than a faint coffee ring, but the message was clear, a reminder of her status. She knelt, her fingers working methodically as the officers smirked above her. "Like having a robot that needs constant instructions," someone muttered. She ignored it. Her hands, calloused and scarred in ways no janitor's hand should be, moved with quiet efficiency. Admiral Blackwood was coming. She knew his name before Novak announced it. She had memorized his service record, his reputation for precision, his history with naval intelligence. And most importantly, she knew he was one of only 3 people alive who could recognize the mark on her back. But would he? That was the risk she lived with every day. A sudden crash echoed from the maintenance bay, tools scattering across the floor. Instinct kicked in, her body snapping to alertness, muscles tightening for combat. She caught herself too late, forcing her shoulders to slump again. "Jumpy civilian," Wade commented as he passed. "They should screen better." She mentally cursed herself. 14 months of flawless cover, and a single reflex could ruin everything. She made her way to the maintenance bay, kneeling to help gather the scattered tools. Kaida Sorrel, the head technician, gave her a curt nod. Sorrel wasn't friendly, but she was fair. She was the only one who treated Zephyrin as more than a nuisance. "You're good with these," Sorrel remarked as Zephyrin arranged the tools. "Used to help my father," Zephyrin murmured. "He fixed farm equipment." The lice slipped out effortlessly. That father never existed. That farm never existed. But the cover story was airtight. Still, she noticed something as she put the tools away. A specialized wrench was missing. One designed for the XT-85's propulsion housing. She didn't react, didn't pause. But the detail lodged in her mind like a thorn. Then Admiral Blackwood arrived. The atmosphere changed instantly. Officers straightened their spines. Voices dropped to respectful murmurs. Even Novak's confident demeanor faltered slightly as the Admiral strode across the hangar. He moved like a man who had seen war, with sharp, calculating eyes that missed nothing. Zephyrin kept her head bowed as he passed, pretending to mop near the XT-85's landing gear. She felt his gaze brush over her for the briefest moment, but he said nothing. The XT-85 gleamed under the harsh lights, a predator disguised as a transport. She noticed a fresh leak near the undercarriage, hydraulic fluid pooling slowly. She knelt to clean it, her eyes flicking to the modifications she wasn't briefed about. "What are you doing down there?" Wade's voice barked behind her. She jumped for real this time, spinning around with her mop in hand. "Cleaning, sir," she murmured, lowering her eyes. Wade frowned. "I'll report it." "No need," he muttered finally. "I'll handle it." Captain Novak was watching them. His gaze lingered a moment too long before he turned away, muttering into his comm. That night in her barren apartment, she replayed every detail of the day in her mind. Novak's strange interest in the leak, the missing wrench, the unauthorized modifications. She lay in the dark, her mind sharp and alert, no longer the timid janitor. She was Commander Zephyrin Calder, the last active Phantom operative, embedded deep in enemy territory. And tomorrow, she would return to being invisible. Because the best way to catch a traitor is to become the person they'll never see coming. Morning came with colder eyes. Security at Nexus base tightened like a noose. New scanners hummed at the gate. Guards checked faces twice, bags 3 times. The line of civilian workers moved slow as glue. "Arms up," the guard said without looking at her. Sophia lifted her hands. Calm breath. Steady pulse. The wand passed over her ribs, her hips, her back. A soft beep, then silence. "Why all this?" she asked timid small. "Orders," the guard said. "Move." She moved. Inside, the hangar felt different. Too quiet. Conversations lived in whispers now, tucked in corners and clipped by glances. Suspicion had a sound. It was the sound of people lowering their voices when you came near. She pushed her cart forward. Wheels squeaked. Mop bucket sloshed. "Third comm relay this month," an engineer murmured as he hurried past. "That can't be random." "Shoo," his partner hissed, eye-cutting to Sophia like a razor. She didn't look up. She didn't need to. Her ears caught the rest, soft as breath. Something added to the circuits. Not standard. Not ours. Her broom moved in perfect lines. Her mind did not. Emma Tannen crossed the catwalk above. Radio pressed to her ear, jaw set. John Wade stood near the flight line, arms folded, eyes scanning the floor like the truth might be spilled there. Michael Novak strode through the middle of it all, crisp uniform, confident step. Command clung to him like a second skin. Sophia turned her cart toward the officers' break room. Trash cans, coffee cups, paper napkins with secrets. She emptied a bin beside the counter as John Wade spoke with Emma. "I don't like it," John said, voice low. "Contractors moving around during a breach." "They're cleared," Emma replied, without looking over. "Besides, what you going to do? Overthrow the base with a mop?" Soft laughs. A door opened. Someone came in. The moment passed. Sophia tied the garbage bag with a practiced tug. Noted the fragments. Emma's worry was real. John's was different, protective, suspicious, but not cruel. And Novak? Novak didn't worry. Novak managed. 14 months, Sophia thought, carrying a world on silence. 2 days of the same. More metal detectors. More escorts. More rumors with edges. Sophia endured it with the face of a woman who had learned to become air. She was there and yet not. Seen and yet not. On the 5th day, the base went to elevated alert. Civilians were corralled in the receiving area. New screening. New faces. A new script spoken by the same tired voice. After an hour, escorts arrived. A young corporal led Sophia into the hangar. "You stay where I can see you," he said, bored already. "Yes, sir." The hangar churned. Panels came off walls. Relay guts lay open like ribs. Teams swarmed the communications station with screwdrivers and scanners. Admiral Robert Blackwood watched from the middle distance, hands behind his back, eyes like searchlights. Emma stood by his shoulder, holding a small circuit board between gloved fingers. "This isn't a malfunction," Emma said. "It's an amplifier. Custom. Unauthorized." Michael Novak's smile tightened just a degree. "Are you suggesting sabotage, Commander?" "I'm stating facts," Emma replied. Robert's gaze swept the floor. It drifted over pilots and privates, screens and steel, and paused, just for a heartbeat, on Sophia Vale. Her eyes dropped. Her hands kept working. Mop. Rag. Bucket. Breath. "Inspect everything," Admiral Blackwood said. "Every log. Every relay. I want answers." Hours bled away. The young corporal watched Sophia until watching her grew dull. He checked his phone. She wiped a railing a fourth time for no reason, except the fourth time gave her a better angle on the relay teams. John Wade stopped near her as she mopped by the experimental line. "You'll need to clear this area," he said. Command voice. Not unkind. "When should I return?" she asked. "You won't. Restricted to military only until further notice." She nodded, turned the cart, saw Novak across the hangar, face unreadable, fingers whispering into his comm. A thought moved behind his eyes like weather. The alarm hit at 1640. Siren. Flashing red. A voice across the bay. "System malfunction in Hangar Section C. All personnel clear the area." People started moving. Orders cut the air into pieces. "Civilians out now," her escort said, grabbing her sleeve. "Move." Sophia walked. Slow, like fear had weight. She let the crowd carry her toward the exit. Then she looked back. Hydraulic fluid splashed from an experimental line, a shimmering serpent sliding across polished concrete. It inched toward an exposed electrical panel tied to the secondary communications array. If it reached the contacts, there would be fire, smoke, panic, then nothing. Evidence erased. Weeks of invisible labor reduced to ash in seconds. John Wade saw her hesitate. "This is classified," he snapped, and his hand tightened on her arm. "Out." Michael Novak appeared, urgency fixed to his face like a mask. "She shouldn't be here," he said with a dry laugh. "She wouldn't understand what she's looking at anyway." Sophia looked at the slick, dark ribbon of fluid, at the naked panel, at the distance between them, tiny, closing, final. She broke. She yanked free. She ran. Rag. Knees. Pressure. She slid on her side, stretching long. The mop head shot forward. Absorbent cloths unfurled from her belt like a magician's scarves. She dammed the flow one trembling inch at a time. "Stand down." John shouted. "That's an order." "The electronics," she gasped, staying small, staying meek. "It'll destroy them." For a breath, the hangar froze around her. Time narrowed to the sound of fluid kissing fiber, the rasp of her breath, the thud of boots racing in the distance. And then Admiral Robert Blackwood rounded the wing. He saw it as if the scene had waited for him to arrive. The janitor on her knees, reaching deep beneath a cabinet. The gray shirt riding just an inch too high. The skin at the small of her back exposed. A mark there. Not decoration. Not fashion. Geometry. Schematic. An emblem folded into impossible lines. The Phantom Directive. His face changed. Shock, recognition, then something like relief or dread. He stepped once. Twice. "Everyone out," he said. No one moved. His voice sharpened. "Clear the hangar. Now." The order cut like a blade. People scattered, hands on tools, eyes wide. John Wade hesitated. One look at the Admiral, at the woman on the floor, at the sealed line of fluid. "That includes you, Lieutenant," Robert said, tone flat as rain. "Yes, sir." Boots. Doors. Silence. It was just the two of them now. The hum of the hangar returned like a heartbeat. Sophia pushed to her feet. The timid slump slipped from her body like a coat. Her spine found its true height. Her eyes lifted, steady and bright, a horizon cleared of haze. Robert studied her. "How long have you been Phantom Class, operative?" 14 years, 3 months, 17 days, sir," she said. Her voice was iron smooth to velvet. He took a breath. Memory crossed his face like a shadow. Phantoms were decommissioned after Curelia. On paper, she said. A muscle moved in his jaw. He walked to the closest console and killed the cameras one by one. Red lights blinked into black. We have 10 minutes before protocol flags the outage, he said. Tell me everything. She did. Exactly. Calm and clean. The transmissions. The false malfunctions. The amplifier in the relays. The timing. The pattern. The name she believed sat at the center. Michael Novak, she said. Robert's eyes hardened. Not surprise, context. He didn't look away. He's been inside this program since the cradle, he said. That's why it worked, Sophia answered. Access and authority hide sins better than shadows do. What do you need? He asked. Secure the device. Emma recovered, she said. Restrict Novak's movement without waking him. At 2,100 hours tonight, a final packet is set to move. Full propulsion schematics for the XT-85. I'll let it go. Let it go. His brow lifted a warning. Not the real thing, she said. I cooked it. Looks perfect. Builds to nowhere. He transmits, we record, we arrest. He stared at her. Then nodded once, decision made. I'll pull a small team I trust. Briefing room 3 at 1800. One more thing, she said softly. No one knows what I am. Not yet. I need my mask until the clock strikes. Understanding aligned in his eyes. He squared his shoulders. The Admiral returned to the room like a storm returning to the sea. He raised his voice for the cameras that would soon be alive again. Lock down this area. Secure the prototype. And get this civilian out of my sight. Doors opened. Footsteps returned. John Wade appeared at his shoulder, posture tight. Yes, sir, he said. He reached for Sophia's arm, gentler this time. She let him guide her, as if she were made of thin glass. Her eyes stayed on the floor. Her heart did not. As the hangar swallowed its noise again, Sophia counted the beats to nightfall. A whisper threaded the thought. How many years can a person live as a ghost before they forget the taste of sunlight? She didn't know. She only knew the mission. At 1800 hours, there would be a room. At 2100 hours, a transmission. Between those points, a truth would step out of hiding, or burn trying. Outside, the wind slid along the base, fence like a secret. Inside, the clock began to move. What would you have done in her place? Follow the order out the door, or dash toward the spill and risk everything for one fragile thread of proof? The briefing room was carved out of steel and silence. No windows. No light but the soft blue glow of tactical screens. The hum of air filtration was the only sound, until Admiral Robert Blackwood spoke. Phantom Directive, he said. The name alone sent a ripple of unease through the three officers seated across from him. John Wade stiffened. Emma Tannen blinked, her brow furrowing. Even Kaida Sorrell, leaning against the wall with crossed arms, glanced up sharply. They didn't know. Not really. Robert's voice carried weight, like thunder held back behind clouds. You've all heard whispers. Ghost stories, maybe. The directive was said to be shut down 12 years ago. He turned his gaze to the woman beside him. The timid janitor was gone. Sophia Vale sat straight-backed in tactical black. Every trace of meekness burned away. Her eyes, sharp as glass shards, swept over the room. This is Commander Sophia Vale, Robert continued. She is the last active Phantom operative. John shifted in his seat, incredulous. Sir, I don't understand. A Phantom? Here? Working as a cleaner, Sophia finished for him. Her tone was calm, precise. No one notices the cleaner. No one lowers their voice around her. No one asks her what she's heard. It's the perfect vantage point. The room was quiet. Emma studied Sophia's face as if seeing a ghost. You were reported killed at Curelia, Emma whispered. I attended my own funeral, Sophia replied evenly. A beat of silence. Kaida let out a low whistle, shaking her head. Robert pressed on. Commander Vale has been embedded here for 14 months. Nexus base is compromised. Someone's been leaking classified schematics from the XT-85 program to outside parties. Commander Vale has traced the transmissions back to one man, Captain Michael Novak. The name fell heavy in the air. John's jaw tightened. That's impossible. Is it? Sophia's voice was soft but cutting. She touched a console, and a holoscreen bloomed to life. Surveillance footage flickered. Novak entering secured areas at midnight, bypassing security with a casual swipe of his badge. Screenshots of modified relay schematics filled the air above the table. Emma's face paled. These relays, they were designed to send burst transmissions during diagnostics. Correct, Sophia said, bringing up timestamps. 17 transmissions in 12 months. All disguised as routine malfunctions. And every time you filed a report, Commander Tannen. Emma blinked. Novak dismissed them. Sophia nodded. Effortlessly. John leaned forward, voice tight. If he's been doing this under our noses for a year, how many people does he have on the inside? Unknown, Sophia said. But tonight, we'll get answers. The final transmission is scheduled for 2,100 hours. We'll let him send it. Emma's head snapped toward her. Let him send it? Are you insane? It won't be real data, Sophia explained. The schematics he thinks he's sending have been modified. Convincing, but useless. He won't know the difference. But once he transmits, we'll have irrefutable proof of his involvement. And his contact. Robert's voice was low but commanding. This is an evidence trap. We need Novak to expose himself fully. Kaida let out a dry laugh. So, the guy everyone respects, the guy who practically built this program, is the one burning it down from the inside. Sophia's gaze met hers. That's why it worked. For a moment, nobody spoke. The weight of betrayal settled like dust in the room. Finally, John broke the silence. All right, what's the plan? Robert tapped a command into the table console. The briefing room darkened, leaving only a holographic map of Nexus base glowing in the center. We position teams here, here, and here, he said, pointing at the communications hub and adjacent corridors. Lieutenant Wade, you'll lead the arrest team. Yes, sir. Commander Tannen, you'll monitor the transmission in real time. Your focus is tracking where it's headed. Once Novak sends it, I want that recipient identified. Emma nodded, her fingers already twitching in anticipation of the work. Technician Sorrel, you'll back Commander Vale, Robert continued. You know the guts of this place better than anyone. She'll need your expertise if Novak tries to lock her out. Kaida's lips quirked in a grim smile. I'll be her shadow. Robert's eyes swept the team. We move at 2,100. Until then, Commander Vale's cover stays intact. No one breathes a word of who she is. Not yet. Sophia leaned forward. When this is over, Novak will know exactly who took him down. Let's make sure that's the last thing he ever learns. The briefing ended in a quiet shuffle of boots and murmured acknowledgments. The air outside the secure room felt thicker, heavier, as if the base itself sensed the storm gathering. John lingered as the others left, hesitating by Sophia's side. His face was unreadable, caught between shame and awe. Commander, he started, his voice lower now. Sophia turned, her expression calm. He swallowed. I treated you like you didn't matter. All this time, and you were exactly what I needed to be, she interrupted softly. John blinked. If you'd treated me differently, she continued, if you'd suspected for even a moment, it would have compromised everything. You did your job, Lieutenant. Don't apologize for that. His jaw flexed, then he nodded, standing a little straighter. For what it's worth, I won't make that mistake again. Her eyes softened just a fraction. Good. Now focus. We need you tonight. He nodded once sharply and left. Hours later, the base settled into its night rhythm, a deceptive calm. The hum of machinery filled the corridors. Patrols moved like clockwork. From the outside, Nexus base looked normal. Inside, it was a chessboard. Sophia sat in the shadows of the security control room, tactical gear hugging her frame. Admiral Blackwood stood nearby, arms folded, gaze locked on the feeds. The man radiated a kind of patience that could break steel. Director Crane sends his regards, Robert murmured, eyes still on the monitors. He said you've outdone even Phantom standards. Sophia allowed herself a faint smile. The director has a flair for dramatics. Robert glanced at her, a ghost of respect in his gaze. Your record will be restored after this. Your name will come back from the dead. She exhaled softly. We'll see. Movement in Sector 4. Emma's voice crackled through the comms. Novak just entered the communication center. Robert's posture sharpened. Copy. Maintain surveillance. Do not engage until my command. The room went still, everyone watching the screens. There he was, Michael Novak, moving like a man who owned the air he breathed. He bypassed security locks with practiced ease, stepping into the hub as though it were his living room. Terminal access granted, Emma whispered over comms. He's going straight for the relay. Let him work, Sophia murmured. The minutes stretched. Novak's fingers flew over keys, bypassing safeguards like they were suggestions. He reached for a secure drive, entered a command sequence. The bar on the screen crawled forward. Transmission initiated, Emma said, tension threading her voice. Signal bouncing through proxies. Destination trace in progress. Robert gave the order. Go. The door to Novak's sanctum burst open. John Wade led the charge, his voice booming. Captain Michael Novak, you're under arrest for espionage and treason against the United Alliance of Nations. Novak froze only for a heartbeat before spinning, reaching for a concealed sidearm. He didn't make it halfway out of its holster before John's boot sent it skidding across the floor. Hands where I can see them. John barked. For a moment, Novak met the nearest security camera head-on. His expression wasn't fear, it was recognition, hatred, and something else. He already knew who had outplayed him. Sophia Vale. He was dragged out in restraints 10 minutes later, his swagger replaced by a predator's snarl. And still, even cuffed and beaten, Novak smirked at the cameras, as if promising this wasn't over. Somewhere in the shadows of Nexus Base, Sophia watched him go, silent. Tonight wasn't the end. It was just the first card turned over. And, in the darkness beyond the base walls, someone was waiting for that transmission. Someone Novak had been feeding for over a year. For the first time in months, Sophia felt a chill. The trap had sprung. But would it catch everything? The hangar that once buzzed with chatter now stood in reverent silence. Every officer lined the perimeter, back straight, weapons close. The only sound was the faint hum of the XT-85 systems on standby, like a predator resting before a kill. Admiral Robert Blackwood stood tall in the center of the hangar, radiating authority that commanded silence without effort. And beside him, no longer hunched, no longer invisible, was Sophia Vale. For 14 months, she had been nothing more than a shadow pushing a broom. Now in tactical gear with her insignia gleaming, she looked every bit the legend they thought dead. Commander Sophia Vale, Robert announced, his voice carrying across the cavernous space, is the last operative of the Phantom Directive. You will treat her words as mine. Whispers rippled like wind through leaves. Eyes darted between Sophia and the Admiral, disbelief breaking against discipline. Sophia scanned the faces. Most looked stunned, some fearful, and one, Michael Novak, gazed back at her with hatred so sharp it could cut steel. Shackled and flanked by armed guards, he stood straighter than a man in chains had any right to, his expression carved into an arrogant sneer. You, he said softly, voice dripping venom. The cleaner. Sophia's face was unreadable. The one who swept up your mess, she replied. Novak's smirk flickered just for a second. Later, in the secure briefing room, Novak's arrest was just a bullet point. The real storm was the name behind his transmissions. Emma Tannen's fingers flew over a holographic console, tracking the packet Novak had sent. I've got a trace. He's routing it through 5 proxies. Eastern servers. Military-grade encryption. Destination? Robert asked. Emma exhaled. Looks like EEA Advanced Aerospace Division. The Eurasian Economic Alliance. Kaida Sorrel cursed under her breath. Of course. Who else would want the XT-85? Sophia leaned over Emma's shoulder, her eyes scanning the code. They've built a whole network around this. Novak was just the courier. He wasn't alone. John Wade crossed his arms, tension pulling his frame tight. Then who's holding the leash? That, Sophia said, is what we're about to find out. Hours passed. Novak was interrogated, but he wasn't breaking. He sat in the secured cell with the calm of a man who had prepared for this day, as though he'd expected it all along. When Sophia entered the room, he finally smiled. I wondered when you'd come, he said. She closed the door behind her. The heavy lock clicked like a gun cocking. You expected me. I knew there was someone, Novak replied smoothly. Someone sharp. Someone who'd piece things together. I underestimated you, though. He tilted his head, studying her. Phantom. I thought they'd killed all of you. They tried, Sophia said, folding her arms. Novak chuckled softly, leaning back in his chair. You think you've won. You think arresting me stops anything. Sophia didn't answer. She let the silence stretch, an interrogation tactic as old as war. Finally, Novak's smile sharpened. You don't understand, Commander Vale. I'm just one voice in a choir. Cut me out, and the song plays on. Her gaze didn't flicker. Then tell me who conducts it. Novak leaned forward, lowering his voice. You think the EEA is your enemy, but there are people higher than them. People who own this war before it even starts. You're too good to be a janitor, Vale, but even you can't see the whole board. Sophia stepped closer, her voice ice. You should be careful, Novak. Because right now, I'm the only one between you and a firing squad. For a brief moment, his confidence faltered. Then he chuckled again, leaning back in his chair like a king on his throne. Funny. I was about to say the same to you. Outside the cell, Admiral Blackwood watched through the observation glass, his arms folded. He's not bluffing, he said to Emma. Emma nodded. Someone on the receiving end is watching us. They know we're tracing it. Robert's jaw tightened. We've been burned. They're testing us. Sophia's mind ran fast, assembling puzzle pieces. Novak wanted us to trace it. He wanted us to see them. Kaida leaned against the wall, arms crossed. So now what? We pull back. No, Sophia said firmly. We push forward. Hard. Make them think they're leading us exactly where they want us. At 0200 hours, Nexus base went on lockdown. Novak was transferred to a maximum security cell. The XT-85 was placed under triple guard. Every screen on the base glowed with encrypted feeds, the nerve center of an invisible war. Sophia worked in the dark, fingers flying across a console in the command center. The modified packet Novak sent had been weaponized, not just bait for him, but a Trojan horse leading her straight to the shadow network. Lines of code flickered past her eyes. I've got them, she murmured. They've mirrored our system. They're trying to pull schematics directly from our cache. Emma's voice was tight. Can you block them? Sophia shook her head. Not yet. I'm letting them in. Emma froze. You're what? They think they're winning. Let them take the bait. Sophia's voice was calm, steady. Once they pull it, I'll reverse the trace. We'll know exactly who's sitting at the other end. Robert nodded, his face grim. Do it. The room felt like a battlefield without guns. Everyone was silent except for the hum of servers and the clicking of keys. The enemy's connection wrapped around theirs like a serpent, sliding through firewalls. Almost there, Sophia whispered. A bar on the screen filled, slow as a heartbeat. 90%. 95. 100. Packet pulled, Emma confirmed. They think they have the XT-85. Now, Sophia said. Her hands flew. Code cascaded like rain. The enemy's signal flared, doubled, then buckled. I've got them, she said sharply. Location trace locked. Sector Northern EEA, Aerospace Division Facility, Tier 4 clearance. Robert allowed himself a slow nod. We have our target. Suddenly, alarms blared. Breach. A voice called over comms. Hangar C. Unauthorized entry. Everyone jumped to their feet. Robert's voice thundered. Seal the base. Now. Sophia grabbed her headset, sprinting after him down the corridor. It's a diversion, she said breathlessly. Novak has backup. Hangar C was chaos. Red light strobed. Smoke curled from a detonated panel near the main entrance. Alarms screaming overhead. Shadows moved through the haze. Intruders fast and organized. "Contact west side," someone shouted. Gunfire erupted, echoing off the metal walls. Sophia ducked behind a crate, drawing her sidearm with smooth precision. John Wade's voice barked orders over the comm. "Squads 2 and 3, flank right. Keep them away from the XT-85. Through the haze, she saw them, 4 figures in stealth suits, their movements surgical. One fired suppression rounds, pinning security down. Another sprinted toward the comms terminal. "They're after the relay," Sophia shouted, breaking cover. She moved fast, like the ghost she'd been for over a year. 1 shot, 2, and a hostile went down. Another turned toward her, firing. Sparks erupted as bullets ripped through metal near her head. John appeared from the smoke, rifle steady, and dropped the shooter with 2 precise shots. "Go," he barked. Sophia sprinted to the terminal, sliding across the floor. Her hands flew over the controls, locking it down before the enemy could wipe evidence. "Relay secured," she called out. But the fight wasn't over. A figure lunged at her from the shadows, a blur of motion, a knife glinting. Sophia twisted, grabbed his arm, and slammed him against the console. The knife clattered to the floor. With a sharp twist, she disarmed him and drove a knee into his stomach, dropping him cold. "Clear," she yelled, adrenaline surging. The firefight slowed. One by one, the intruders fell or fled. Sirens wailed, boots thundered, and the chaos finally gave way to silence. Robert strode in, expression unreadable. His eyes scanned the scene, bodies, smoke, bullet holes, and landed on Sophia. "You okay, Commander?" he asked. She nodded, chest heaving. "They weren't here to save Novak," she said. "They were here to burn everything we've collected." Robert's jaw tightened. "Which means whoever hired them knows exactly how close we are." Sophia holstered her gun, glancing toward Novak's secured self-feed on a nearby monitor. He was sitting there calmly, smiling like the devil himself. "He planned this," she said. "Every step of it." Robert nodded grimly. "And now, Commander Vale, he knows exactly who you are." Somewhere in a quiet, dark cell, Novak raised his eyes toward the nearest camera and whispered, "Your move, Phantom." The Eurasian Economic Alliance's Aerospace Division facility was a fortress. No, fortress wasn't enough. It was a machine. Every door scanned for biometric signatures. Every corridor watched by cameras with AI tracking movement patterns. Beyond its glass and steel exterior, the building pulsed with the kind of quiet that only absolute control could create. And into that machine walked a ghost. Sophia Vale moved through the facility in a plain technician's jumpsuit, her dark hair tied back, ID badge clipped neatly to her chest. Her face was calm, her steps measured. To anyone watching, she was another forgettable cog in the endless system. They didn't see the micro antenna stitched into her collar. They didn't see the slim lockpicks hidden in her boot. They didn't see the phantom directive tattoo lying dormant beneath layers of clothes. But the camera did. Somewhere deep inside the building, in a secure room surrounded by screens, a man watched the feed. He saw her. He leaned closer, his lips curled into a faint smile. "She's here," he murmured to no one in particular. The tactical briefing at Nexus base was sharp and merciless, like a blade honed on tension. "This is our only window," Admiral Robert Blackwood said, pointing to a rotating 3D hologram of the EEA facility. "The Trojan packet Sophia sent during Novak's transmission gave us a backdoor into their system. That access will disappear within 48 hours. We move now or we lose them." John Wade leaned over the display. "How deep are we going?" "Deep enough to confirm the chain of command," Robert replied. His gaze flicked to Sophia. "You'll go in under your new identity. Lyra Everett, Maintenance Tech. Level 2 clearance, forged and ghosted into their system." Sophia nodded. Calm. Focused. Kaida Sorrel crossed her arms. "That's low clearance. You'll be practically invisible. But if they catch on..." "They won't," Sophia said softly. Emma Tannen shook her head, fingers flying over her datapad. "This network is massive, Admiral. Novak was just a node. Whoever runs this operation is building something much bigger than the XT-85. Robert's expression hardened. Then let's find out what. The mission was simple on paper. Get in. Confirm the target. Plant a tracking virus on the mainframe. Get out. But simplicity was a mask. In truth, this was a razor's edge. One slip, and the Phantom Directive's last operative would vanish into a black site where names didn't exist. Sophia's cover held as she passed through the facility's checkpoints. Her badge beeped green each time. No one looked twice. Just another tech with a toolbox following orders. The building was too clean, too quiet. Her footsteps echoed against polished floors as she wheeled a small maintenance cart toward the data sector. Guards at every junction nodded her through with mechanical indifference. Still, the air felt heavy, like it knew. Sophia's earpiece crackled softly. "You're clear for Sector 7, Emma whispered from Nexus Base, her voice tight. "Camera loop, holding steady. We've got you ghosted." "Copy," Sophia murmured, keeping her head down. John's voice came next. "Extraction window is 20 minutes. If you're not out by then, we're pulling you, no debate." Sophia's lips curved faintly. "Understood, Lieutenant." She reached a service corridor lined with humming server towers. Each one was a monolith of light and code, thrumming with secrets. This was it, the brain of the beast. She knelt beside an access panel, tools clicking softly as she unscrewed the lock. The device slid open, revealing a nest of glowing circuits. She reached into her pocket, pulling out a small silver chip barely the size of a fingernail. "This is Ghost Seed," Emma said through her comm. "Once it's in, it'll replicate itself, crawling through every system. We'll know everything they know." "Planting now," Sophia murmured. She slid the chip into place. The circuitry flickered, lights shifting from blue to green to blue again. It was done. "Virus planted," she whispered. "Good." Robert's voice rumbled in her ear. "Now get out." She sealed the panel and stood, but a flicker in the corner of her vision made her freeze. A camera. One that hadn't been on her blueprints. It turned, slowly, locking onto her. "Emma." Sophia whispered. "Hold on." Emma's voice came back, panic threading her tone. That's not connected to the main system. I can't." The camera's lens pulsed red. "Compromise," Sophia said calmly. Sirens blared. She moved. Fast. Years of training kicked in like muscle memory. Sophia dropped her cart, stripped off the jumpsuit mid-run, revealing a sleek tactical suit underneath. She vaulted over a railing, hitting the ground floor in a crouch. Guards swarmed from both ends of the corridor. Contact in Sector 7. Sophia's pistol cleared its holster in a heartbeat. 2 shots, precise and clean. Both guards went down before they could even raise their weapons. She sprinted for the service elevator, hitting the emergency override. "Extraction compromised," she said into her comm. "Meet at Point Echo." "Copy that." John's voice snapped back. "We're moving." The elevator doors closed just as a hail of bullets struck them, sparks flying. Sophia crouched low, gun ready. The elevator hummed upward. Then it stopped. The lights flickered red. A voice filled the elevator, smooth and calm. "Commander Vale." Sophia froze. "You didn't really think we wouldn't see you coming, did you?" The voice continued. Male cultured, with the kind of confidence that came from never being surprised. "You've been busy," Sophia said evenly. "Not as busy as you." The voice chuckled. 14 months of pretending to scrub floors? Admirable. But you're not a ghost anymore, Commander. You're prey. Sophia glanced up. The elevator's camera blinked red, a single unblinking eye. "Enjoy the ride," the voice said. "We'll meet soon." The elevator jerked, dropping 2 floors. Sophia braced herself as the doors slid open to reveal a team of armored operatives waiting, with rifles raised. She didn't hesitate. She dove sideways as bullets shredded the elevator's interior, rolling behind a server cabinet. "Contact Echo." "Echo," she barked over comms. "En route." John's voice was sharp. "Hold your position." Sophia peeked out, fired 2 shots, and took out the front man. The others closed in, rifles roaring. Sparks lit the corridor like fireworks. She moved like water, flowing between cover, every motion precise. 1 guard down. Another. She rolled forward, slid under a hail of gunfire, and jammed a shock baton into the last operative's ribs. Silence. Smoke hung heavy in the corridor. Status. Robert demanded. Alive, Sophia panted, reloading her weapon. But they knew I was coming. Extraction team in 2 minutes, John said. Make it 1, she replied, moving deeper into the corridor. She reached the facility's mainframe room. A wall of glass revealed a vault-like chamber where a single console sat glowing softly, and in front of it stood a man in a pristine suit. Tall, sharp, smiling. He turned slowly, as if he'd been expecting her all his life. Commander Vale, he said. His accent was subtle, his voice calm. Or should I say, Phantom. Sophia raised her weapon. You must be the conductor. The man chuckled, hands clasped behind his back. Oh, I'm much more than that. You see, the Phantom Directive was never shut down. It was split. You work for one half. I lead the other. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Novak was your pawn. He was a volunteer, the man said smoothly. Just like you. Difference is, he understood the truth. This isn't war, Commander. It's pruning. We're deciding who survives the next century. Sophia's heartbeat was steady. And I suppose you think you're the gardener. Not think, he said, smiling faintly. No. A soft hiss filled the room. Gas vents. Her vision blurred for a fraction of a second before she yanked her mask from her belt and sealed it over her face. Cute trick, she said. He smiled wider. You'll have to do better than that. Extraction team in position. John's voice barked over comms. Sophia's eyes flicked around the chamber. Guards were flooding in from both sides. The man in the suit remained calm, stepping back toward the main console. Take the shot, Robert's voice ordered. Negative, Sophia hissed. We need him alive. Bullets tore through the glass as she dove into the chamber, rolling behind the console. The man moved like a shadow, slipping through a side door. Targets on the move, she shouted, firing at the guards. John's team stormed in from the left, suppressing fire cutting through the chaos. Emma's voice crackled. They're trying to purge the system. We'll lose the back door. Not today, Sophia growled. She slammed a data spike into the console, fingers flying over the keys as gunfire roared around her. The system screamed warnings, code scrolling faster than her eyes could follow. Ghost seed is locking. Emma cried. We've got it. We've got them all. Sophia ripped the spike out and spun toward the exit, firing at 2 advancing guards. Move. John grabbed her arm, dragging her into the smoke-filled hallway as explosions rocked the building. Extraction now, Robert barked. They sprinted through the chaos, bullets slicing the air. Sophia glanced back once, just in time to see the suited man vanish behind a reinforced blast door, smiling as if he'd won. The extraction chopper lifted off into the night. Nexus Base's lights shimmered far away on the horizon. Sophia sat against the cabin wall, mask dangling from her fingers, adrenaline still burning in her veins. Robert's voice crackled in her ear. You have it. Yes, she said softly, pulling the spike from her vest. We have their entire network. Names, locations, plans. And the man in the suit? Robert asked. Sophia's gaze hardened. He called himself the other half a Phantom. If he's right, this was just the opening move. Hours later, in the debrief room, Admiral Blackwood studied the data streaming across the screen. You've pulled a thread that runs through every level of our defense grid, he said. This isn't just espionage, Commander. This is an entire shadow government. Sophia stood silent, arms crossed. Robert turned to her. You've done enough for 3 lifetimes. We can put you on a safe posting. Let someone else handle this war. Sophia shook her head. I've been in the shadows too long to stop now. Send me back in. The Admiral held her gaze for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Then Phantom lives again, he said quietly. That night, Sophia Vale disappeared. No record of her departure. No flight logs. No paper trail. Only whispers. Somewhere in the EEA's highest levels, a man in a suit reviewed footage of their encounter. He smiled faintly at the screen. The ghost wants to hunt, he murmured. Good. The war had begun.